Hi there. Today we're in chapter 5 of the book of Deuteronomy, especially verse 15. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Episode 18. R is for rest and remember. Lent is a time for action, but a question for us is, have you rested at all this Lent? After all, Eastertide is the celebration of the resurrection, and that's what we're preparing for. We're preparing ourselves through our Christian living today for the time when we will rest eternally in the Lord. God's divine law itself enshrines rest as a sacred duty as well as work. The Sabbath day, on which God himself rested after creating the world, is to be kept holy by his chosen people. In Deuteronomy chapter 5, Moses is recalling to the people about this duty. But when he starts his discourse, he says something rather strange, as Bishop Eric Varden has pointed out. He says at the beginning of the chapter, "The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb." That's another word for Sinai. "Not with our fathers did the Lord make this covenant, but with us, who are all of us here alive today." Why does Moses say that the covenant was not made with our fathers? It certainly was. Some 40 years have passed since he received the law on Mount Sinai. But it's as if he is saying that in remembering this monumental event in Israel's history, they are actually recalling that it is something that has an effect today. The covenant is not a museum piece. It is something that is happening now. It is something which is for the people of today. Christian life is like that too. We, in the new covenant, are constantly remembering how it came about, how Jesus died and rose again. But when we do that kind of remembering, we are not doing so academically. That would be just Bible study. Rather, we are living his death and resurrection every day, especially when they are sacramentally present to us in the liturgy, in the Mass. Going to Mass on Sunday is, as strange as it may seem, a kind of rest. We down tools, forget about our own projects, and are part of the project of God. We do something which is in a sense useless, simply worshipping him. It leads to no particular outcome. But because of that, it is the most important activity of all. Just being in him and remembering how he saves us. We are not scrambling to recreate something that took place long ago. We are experiencing Jesus' saving power in the here and now. And at the same time, in our act of rejoicing and remembering these sacred mysteries, each individual in the church remembers that he or she has a past, has a history. We have all benefited from God's grace and been rescued by him on so many occasions. It is right and just, then, that we rest in him and give thanks for a while. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God commanded you to keep the Sabbath day.